dropping some ministers from former President Robert Mugabe's era. Joining us on the line from the capital of Zimbabwe in Harare is Rumbidzai Venge. Thanks so much for your time, Rumbidzai. How much can we read into the fact that people like Constantino Chiwenga and Patrick Chinamasa, who used to hold powerful positions like Deputy President and Finance Minister, respectively, are not in the new cabinet?
Well, good evening. Thank you for having me. I think the first thing that we can draw is obviously that there's a sign of some sort of change, and the issue of President Mnangagwa wanting to introduce a dynamic cabinet, wanting to be a listening president, really then come to the fore. And there's been a major issue, particularly with the Ministry of Defense, because you find that in the previous or before the elections, General Chiwenga was also the Minister of Defense as well as the Vice President. And this presented some issues, even in terms of the Constitution, in terms of Section 215 of our Constitution, where it has to be a minister who heads that portfolio. So in him not being part of the cabinet, I think it gives us a bit of relief in that it is now very procedural, because there were issues on the constitutionality of him holding both positions. So we find that has been rectified. And also the issue of the finance ministry has been very topical. The appointment of Dr. Mthuli Ngube, who is actually a technocrat, I think gives a lot of Zimbabweans hope in that we've actually put someone qualified, who is an economist, to actually head the issues of economics and finance in Zimbabwe, which have been a major problem for all the citizens.
Now, the opposition didn't appear to get an olive branch. We saw that they had gone to court to fight the election results, but none of them appear to be in this new cabinet.
It was a bit, it was a litmus test, really. And I suppose we were all expecting maybe for there to be some sort of cooperation that would show really that we are moving in unison and that there has been an extension of that olive branch. But in this case, we see that did not happen. So I was a little disappointed in that regard, because we would have really wanted to see how we were going to work together, or how the president hoped to work together with the opposition, who garnered a significant vote in the previous election. And perhaps there should have been one or two ministers from the opposition just to have that diversity. But it is his prerogative constitutionally, and for reasons best known to himself, he has left out any members of the opposition in the new cabinet. So I'd say it's a little disappointing, but we were all waiting to see whether he would actually make room for members of the opposition, and we would see some sort of coalition going forward.
Now, President Mnangagwa also said that on Twitter earlier on that the cabinet that he appointed was a diverse, dynamic, youthful and streamlined cabinet. I'm quoting him directly there. Is that how you would describe it?
I would perhaps take on some of those descriptive words. I believe I also saw the same that was on his Twitter account. In terms of new faces, granted, we have seen a lot of new faces. We've also seen a lot of the old guard that have not made it onto this list of cabinet ministers. Some career ministers have also not made it. So I suppose we have to take it with some optimism and see that there has been appointment of youthful people. There has been appointment of technocrats, and I suppose he does live up to the promise that he's made in that regard. Though there has been more of inclusion, as I previously mentioned, perhaps of people from the opposition and people from different spheres of business and different spheres of expertise as well. But we find that perhaps it's been a bit conservative, and we would wait to see how the selected persons would actually perform in the roles that they've been given.
Now, Zimbabwe's economy is ailing. Its treasury is in arrears of about $1.7 billion. Now, the new finance minister, you've alluded to him that he's an economist. He's a former African Development Bank finance president. How much do you think he will boost confidence alongside with his other cabinet ministers?
No, I think he's definitely the trump card in this cabinet. He's well versed with economic issues. He has in the past spoken about economic turnaround. He was actually advocating for the removal of the bond note and seeking to restore credibility in the international community, seeking to restore confidence even in the people of Zimbabwe and make sure that economics really come on top and we are not politicking all the time. So I think it's a huge relief to see that somebody who's actually properly qualified and knows what he's talking about is at the helm of such a critical function and a critical ministry. As you rightly say, our economy is definitely on life support. We have a deficit of over 1.8 billion, and it's important that the economic turnaround is at the heart of any plan to turn the country around, of any recovery, of any turnaround, really. And we're happy to see that he's been put in that position. And going from what he said in the past and the papers that he's written, I'm very confident that he's been put in the right position, and that's an ace in place.
Rumbidzai Venge, thanks so much for your time. A Zimbabwean legal practitioner speaking to us from Harare there on that new cabinet in Zimbabwe.